Welcome to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And when we get in the trenches, want to get in the trenches with good ones, and none better than Max Montoya. 16 years in the National Football League, 4 Pro Bowls, unbelievable football player. We'll also find out about other interests. He's going to be opening additional Penn Station's locations. He's going to have 8 franchises with Penn Station. Plus, the man loves horses. Bet you didn't know that one. You'll find out a lot about Max Montoya. Welcome once again to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham. We're emanating from the luxurious First Star Logistics Studios, and in the trenches, I always like being in the trenches with my man Max Montoya. This guy, 16 years in the National Football League, 11 with the Bengals, 5 with the Raiders. Unbelievable. How you feeling physically, my man?
I feel like I'm about 85 years old. You're counting off all them years, and boy, it's added up. There's no doubt.
I'll tell you, that's one heck of a lot of football. But we're going to go back in the Wayback Machine and go back to your high school days. I want to make sure I say this correctly. Is it La Puente High School?
La Puente. We say La Puente.
La Puente.
La Puente. Okay. The I guess the Spanish accent or whatever it might be, but it's Puente for folks and it's La Puente for everybody.
So you were a basketball player as well as a football player. What position did you play in hoops, Maxie? How good were you in the hardwood game?
Not very good. I owned the center though. They didn't come into the middle. I was a center. Basically, they asked me to come out because one of their centers was hurt at the time. So I played that 1 year, but really it wasn't much of a hoopster. I was really a better shot putter and track and field guy.
Is that right? How far did you put the shot?
55 feet.
Sweet.
Still have the record at my old high school.
Awesome. Yeah. Now, did you do the Perry O'Brien glide? Did you do the Olsen swing, spin? What did you do?
No, we did the glide. Yeah. And we actually had 3 guys that went over 50 feet,
wow,
which was pretty good back then.
No question. And no doubt about it. All right, so this is interesting, and I remember hearing about this, but then I just, as I was reading up on you a little bit here, Maxie, it brought it back to my mind. You missed a year in basketball and football with a heart murmur in high school. How much of a concern was that for you, and was it just something you had to outgrow?
I think it was something that I had to outgrow. I kind of blame it on the good-looking nurses that were taking my blood pressure. You're a young high school kid. No, it was weird. I went out as a freshman high school football, broke a clavicle on my shoulder, so I couldn't play my freshman. Didn't play my sophomore year, but I played, shot put and did a few other things and went out my junior year. And then my senior year was the year that it was a heart problem of some sort and couldn't clear. Never knew it was, took all kind of tests. And that's why I went to a junior college also. So.
Right. You went to Mount San Antonio College, right?
Right. Yeah.
And in
Southern Cal. Yeah.
Yeah. Walnut, California. How about that? So what was that experience like for you?
It was great. Really, I was very raw as far as football is concerned. Had a heck of a coach. Ralph Craig took me under his wings as a freshman back in the day and really taught me a lot of stuff, but just taught me how to approach football as an offensive lineman aspect of the whole thing. And kind of like a Jim McNally was, very technical and cerebral type of guy. And I really liked that type of football.
You had an outstanding sophomore season there, and you get a scholarship to UCLA. Where else were you thinking about going? What other options?
Well, actually, I signed a letter of intent back then. You can sign a letter of intent with Colorado.
Really?
really loved in Boulder, Colorado. Took a trip out there.
Yeah.
Beautiful. How could you not like, you
Yep.
know, the mountains, mountain area, and so forth. But signed with UCLA basically because it was close to home, and I thought that would work out for me.
So you earned all Pac-10 honors, and your last year that you played at UCLA, you guys go 8-3-1. You tie Arkansas in the bowl game, but pretty darn good season. You finished in the top 20 in just about everybody's rankings, and played for Coach Terry Donahue. What do you remember about that experience and your teammates with Coach Donahue?
Donahue, pretty tough coach.
Yeah.
He was a defensive lineman, small defensive lineman, even back in his day, but very tough. I was actually recruited by Dick Vermeil out of Mount Sac, and really liked Dick Vermeil. And then he got the head coaching job for Philadelphia Eagles. And then Terry Donahue came in, and I signed with UCLA at that time. But very great experience to play with UCLA, and like you say, was able to play in a couple bowl games. And of all things, who is the player that went from Arkansas, went up to Chicago Bears? He's a Hall of Famer now. I can't think of his name. Shoot,
I'm cramping on it too.
Yeah, it slips my mind. But played against him in the bowl game, and but it was a great experience. UCLA was fantastic, and thought I'd take a big bite of the apple. You know, as a kid that really didn't have much experience playing football, and had some pretty big leagues when you go from Mount Sac to UCLA.
And you played tackle quite a bit in college, correct?
I did. I was an offensive tackle all the way through in junior college and UCLA. I started the 2 years at UCLA as a tackle. Frank Gans was our offensive line coach with UCLA.
Yep.
And then he got a job with the Bengals. And I believe he was special teams coach in 78.
Correct.
Somewhere around there.
Yep.
He's probably the one that brought me to the Cincinnati Bengals in 1979, because I was a late round draft pick, and he probably said, "Hey, this kid's got," but he's another coach that took me under his wings, and really enjoyed Frank Gans too as an offensive line coach. But that's probably how I became a Cincinnati Bengal.
Yeah, that 1979 draft, you drafted in the 7th round, the 168th pick, one of the best picks in franchise history in terms of value, because, man, 16-year career, 4-time Pro Bowler, just an unbelievable football player. How difficult was it to transition to guard?
No, I loved it. Loved guard. You know, I enjoyed offensive tackle position. And I was the weak side tackle at UCLA. We would flip-flop our line dependent on formations and stuff. So I would always be the weak side tackle, but enjoyed that. But you're always just pounding on the defensive end. Really liked the versatility of playing offensive guard, and how it came about really was there was a lot of injuries, as you know, on the offensive line back in 79, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And they threw me in there at guard, threw you in at center.
Yep.
And that's how it all began. So,
yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy.
I mean, you played in the 80s when the team went to the Super Bowl twice. You're one of just a handful of players, not many players that played in both Super Bowls. And Munoz and Montoya, Mexican connection as such. And you throw Jim McNally in there. I mean, the letter M was big. McNally, Montoya, Munoz. I mean, that was the core of what went on up front with that offensive line.
And you were part of that, Big Dave.
Well, yeah, for one of them anyway, 81, that first Super Bowl 16. But I mean, that line, actually, I thought the offensive lines in the decade of the 80s were about as good as there was in the league. I mean, it really was a good group of guys.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I thought both Super Bowl teams, the 81 and the 88 Super Bowl teams, we had some pretty dang good offensive line. Solid. Back then we had in the 81 Super Bowl, we had Blair Bush as center.
Right.
Later on in the 88, we had Of course, Anthony Munoz always anchoring the left side, and Big Joe Walter anchoring the right side, doing a fantastic job. And he actually got hurt, I think, in a playoff game in that '88 Super Bowl.
Yep.
And Blados took over on that spot. But yeah, solid. And running backs. What a versatile set of running backs we had. Ickey Woods, James Brooks, probably pound for pound best running back out there that there was. And I think we led the league in total offense in '88. We were pretty solid.
You did. I mean, '88 team led the National Football League in scoring and yards and rushing yards, first downs. I mean, it was a heck of a unit, man.
Yeah, heck of. And it's a shame that we had a few injuries in that '88 Super Bowl because we had a high-powered offense, but as it turned out, I think Boomer's shoulder was hurt. He was kind of ailing a little bit. And then of course Joe Walter was hurt, so we're playing with Brian Blados and so forth. So it was a little. Oh, not only that, Stanley Wilson, the night before the game. How devastating is that?
Yeah,
big part of our offense.
Well, I mean, great short yardage special teams guy, short yardage goal line guy, great blocker. Yeah. And then during the game, Tim, shatters that leg. Very early in that football game, he has the catastrophic leg injury. I mean, that's. I think there's no way that if all hands were on deck for the Cincinnati Bengals in Super Bowl 23, to walk away with the victory. He had the lead anyway. I mean, Joe Montana had to perform magic with 3 minutes to go in the game and go 92 yards for a touchdown to beat you anyway.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
But yeah, Joe Montana, I'm not a big fan of his, to say the least.
He's got 2 Super Bowl rings we should have, right, Maxie?
Oh, I would have been wearing it right now. But
look at that finger. Look at that pinky finger on that left hand. So how many times did
Anthony's though?
Yeah, right. I know both you guys have the pinkies that are crazy. How many dislocated fingers?
Oh boy, got a couple of them, couple broken. I had a lot of problems with my. It wasn't from holding, of course.
No, never.
Broke a metacarpal, couple fingers, a thumb. I think I broke a lot of little bones. Very fortunate as far as major injuries are concerned. Only had one knee that was bad, and it's pretty fortunate.
That's the thing that I think separates guys that obviously have great careers. The ability. You talk about abilities, and you have to have size, strength, athletic ability, all that, but you have to have accountability, durability, versatility. A lot of iddies like that are big, and that you were big that way, man. I mean, it was like pencil Max in. He's ready to go every single week. I mean, I'm sure there were plenty of weeks, that you didn't feel 100%, but you went out there and played your tail off, man.
Well, back then you really, I don't know what it was. The mentality was that you didn't want to let your guys down, and you didn't want to miss practice because you don't want your other guys to take more reps. And so yeah, it was more of that type of thing, and you want to do what you can to help the team and hopefully win the game, of course. But yeah, it was just all that mentality, and so many of our teammates had that, and I think that's part of what made it so good too.
Maxie, you were as good at pulling guard as I've ever seen, as good a pass protector as I've ever seen. I think you should definitely be mentioned for Hall of Fame consideration a heck of a lot more than is taking place right now up in Canton, Ohio. 16-year career, 4 Pro Bowls. I mean, come on, man. Is it frustrating to you at all?
It's not so frustrating. It's a little frustrating that the fact that we only have one Hall of Famer, and that being Anthony Munoz.
Right.
We have Paul Brown. But all the years that the Bengals have been in existence, I'm flabbergasted that we only have one Hall of Famer. There's a lot more that are deserving of that. But that's a great compliment. And I was talking to Joe DeLamalira earlier today. You remember him? He's one.
Oh yeah, Joe D for sure.
Joey D, and he said the same thing. And it's appreciated. And there's other players in the league that, for some reason, are not considered. But that would be, of course, the ultimate. The other ultimate, which I can't do anything about, is the no Super Bowl ring. That's the biggie. That's the biggie. The Hall of Fame's great. Don't get me wrong, but the Super Bowl thing would have been pretty cool.
Man, to play in 2 Super Bowls and come up just short. I mean, less than a 1-score game. One was a 5-point differential, and the other one was 4 points to the same football team. I mean, I'll tell you, man. Yeah, I agree with you. That's something that's a tough pill to swallow. Not, getting there is one thing, but winning it obviously is the pinnacle, the ultimate.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We were close. We were close a couple times, but it definitely would have been nice to come away with at least one Super Bowl ring.
So you play with the Bengals for 11 seasons, Max, and then it would go to the Raiders, like we said, for 5 more. What was your experience like out there with the Raiders?
Fantastic. They're unbelievable organization, and it's exactly what they say. Once a Raider, always a Raider. It's unbelievable. Really, they were in LA, so it was going back home. I did get a raise in my salary, but that was all vanquished when I had to buy so many tickets for all my family every home game. I mean, there was a lot of tickets I had to buy, but it was great, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to go back to LA and was to play before my family and friends and everything else. And they had a great time, and that was a great thing. That was something.
Tell you, Max, you were as tough a player physically and mentally as I ever played with, and I mean, nobody messed with Max Montoya. I mean, you don't want to get on the bad side of Max Montoya and get the big fellow agitated at you a little bit. I mean, you'd bring it, big boy.
Well, thank you, but I'm not really a big teddy bear. But
but on the field though, man, you brought it.
Well, it's one of those things. It's just don't keep poking the teddy bear, because then, sooner or later you're gonna get bit or whatever. But that's probably true. There's a lot of tough dudes. You got to be tough to play in the NFL anyway. But there's something about I don't know, the competitive juices, if you will, or whatever it is. But I mean, unbelievable. I'm truly blessed. But thanks for all the accolades. That's awful nice of you to say.
So over the years, tell me some of the guys that impressed you that you played against in terms of some of these physical beasts that line up at the line of scrimmage in the National Football League.
That everybody, of course, as an offensive lineman, everybody asks you, who's the toughest guy that you ever played against? And without a doubt, hands down, I've got this picture. I don't know if you can see it okay.
Yep.
But you can tell he's a Green Bay Packer.
Yes.
And number 92, which is kind of ingrained in my head and tattooed on my chest, as well as his cleat marks in there. Reggie White, phenomenal. And this picture is one of my favorite pictures because it's got me kind of locked up with Reggie.
Yeah.
For a half a second until he probably threw me. And well, hopefully he didn't get a sack, but I didn't like giving up sacks. But boy, he was a stud, just a stud. And there's so many great players and so many defensive linemen that we played against and we've talked about.
Right.
Big Louis Kelcher from time way back in the day, 300 and probably 25 pounds. And that's like before breakfast. I mean, he had to go 350. He was a monster.
He was like 18 Triple E shoe, size 18, 19 ring. I mean, he was just big all over. And he had that big cage for a face mask and his chin was still below the cage. It's like, how big is this dude's head?
Oh, he's a monster. And like you say, he put his hands down in the stance and they're like 5 sausages. I mean, giant sausages in the grass. He's incredible. But
he really was.
Yeah.
I mean, and just pick everything up, man. Geez. I remember I lost a toenail trying to, dig in and not get bowled. And
Yeah.
man, that's tough sledding there, man.
Yeah, you're lucky you still had your toe, let alone toenail. Yeah, he is a monster. And Jim McNally's such a technician. And, during the game and everything else, he's saying, where's your technique? You throw technique out the window when you play somebody like that. I mean, you're grabbing and scratching and doing whatever you can to keep them out, keep them off your quarterback. But
Hey, you're fighting for your life. There's no doubt. I agree with you, man.
yeah.
Talk about Jim McNally a little bit. You mentioned him, that, he was such a detail-oriented, technique-oriented guy. What did Jim McNally mean to your career?
He was great because even way back, like I said, Ralph Craig back when I was in junior college, he was a very technical, cerebral type of guy, and
Right.
very much that too, very much a technician, and I kind of connected with that and taking little 6-inch steps and duplicating some of the things that we practice, and I was able to take that into the football game, and for some reason it just clicks with me, and actually targets, and McNally actually spray painting targets on the what was it, the pads that we would hit and so forth, and aiming for the targets, and that really helped me as a pulling guard and going after guys, and I remember some guys, because I used to like to cut people too. Forrest Gregg would always say, if they're on the ground, they're not going to make a tackle. So any way you can get them on the ground, they're not going to make a tackle. So I would practice my technique of cutting people. Just one of those things. There's kind of an art to cutting guys. And Grimsley from, you remember Greg Grimsley from Houston Oilers, linebacker. And he would come up to me and say, he said, I watched film on you more than any guy because I knew you were going to cut me. And he said, dang it, you still cut me. So there was different techniques that I would kind of come up with in my own little brain and work on them actually during the game and doing different things. So I got pretty good at cutting people.
I spoke with Howie Long, multiple times about you when you guys were teammates with the Raiders, and
Yeah.
I mean, he can't say enough good things about you as a football player. And obviously, Howie Long, he's pretty good himself, isn't he?
One of the best. Yeah, I would line him up right there where Reggie White was. He was phenomenal.
Yeah, he really was. Who was your offensive line coach with the Raiders, Max?
Oh boy, of all people, we had Mike White, which was actually a quarterback's coach, and then we had Kim Wood, or not Kim Wood, but Kim Helton.
Kim Helton.
His son's actually, I think, still coaching USC Trojans out in LA. But Kim Helton was our offensive line coach for a couple of years too.
So when you get out of playing after retiring, we'll get into the restaurant business that you're in, but you also coached, and you coached your son Matt
I did.
a little bit. How many years did you coach? What, 6 or 7 years over in Northern Kentucky?
Yeah, actually, it's a funny little story. As soon as I retired in '94, Al Davis calls me again, because he called me the year before and asked me to come play one more year, and it was another story. But the year I retired, Al Davis had called me and said, hey, I want you to come out to LA and coach with us on the offensive line. Whew, that was something I always wanted to do. I mean, could you imagine coaching the offensive line in the NFL?
Yeah.
Apprenticing at that time. But I said, coach, and Al Davis was a coach way back when. I said, you know what? I just kind of got an offer to coach the high school here at the local school where my son goes to school, and let me think about it for a few days. He goes, please just give me a call back. When I called him back, I said, I'm sorry, coach, but I think I'm gonna stay here and coach the high school. So I turned down the Raiders and
Wow.
high school, and really, what a great decision to be able to coach these young kids and be on the same team coaching that my son was playing, and what a great experience. So, you weigh all the options, and being a coach in the NFL, they kind of move around every 4 or 5 years, and I just didn't want to do that. So it was a great experience in coach, and really won a championship ring at Beechwood High School.
Yeah.
We won the state champion. That's all my years of playing sports, Lapham. It's the only championship ring I ever won.
How about that?
Unbelievable.
Hi, Dave Lapham here. Have you heard about In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics? Catch new episodes from the world of sports and broadcasting. Search for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm sure that means a lot to you. That means as much as anything, doesn't it? Wearing that Beechwood ring like that?
Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And getting to the Super Bowl and not being able to win a ring. And here I won a championship, which was cool.
That is. That's very cool. Then, of course, people, we mentioned your son, Matt. Allison, your daughter, just a media star here in the city of Cincinnati. She does great work. She's very talented.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're very proud of both our kids. Allison, yeah, Fox 19. She really loves being a mom, number one, which is fantastic. And Fox 19 works with her and calls her in occasionally, but they let her work just one day a week, and that's Saturday. So she'll be on tomorrow, Saturday morning, and then she anchors Saturday night. So that's a nice gig. And my son works with NFL Film, so he's everywhere, kind of working around the clock too. So
as a photographer, correct?
yeah, he does the audio, video, and everything else that they need. He's worked on the HBO Hard Knocks. He's been doing that for 10 years or so, and he works the Super Bowl games and a few other games throughout. So yeah, it works out pretty good for him.
That's great. No, they're twins, obviously, huh?
Yep.
That's fantastic. That's phenomenal.
Well, yeah.
So also, you got into the restaurant business. You're the proud owner of Penn Station. What, 4 franchises, 5 franchises now, Max?
Well, we got six stores.
6. Wow.
Yeah, 6 stores, and actually this morning that's why I got with you a little later. Is I've been scouting the area for a couple more stores, and I'm going to expand a little bit more.
Are you?
I'm getting a little old to do that, but we're going to do a couple more stores, maybe 2 or 3 more stores, and I may call it quits after that.
So I know you've had restaurants. You've always been interested in that, but take us through your interest in restaurants and food, and then Penn Station. How'd that all come about?
Yeah, big guys, we like to eat.
Absolutely.
We generally know good food, so I had an opportunity to go into the Mexican restaurant business way back in '85 or so, and went into partners with somebody there, and it's still operating here in Northern Kentucky. And then I like the food business. I love preparing good food, and I love the guests that come through the door. So it all works out. It's a great formula, but you got to have a great product. That's number one, and locations and help and everything else that goes with it. But Penn Station, how I got into it is, you remember we used to buy our own lunches, and we'd send the kickers out to go get our lunch.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything all day anyway. So it's like Monday or Tuesday we'd go to Frisch's or send them to Frisch's, and Wednesday was generally Penn Station and something, so forth and so on. So Penn Station was pretty good, and it was a very young company back then. Yeah. So I always had that in the back of my mind whenever I'm going to retire, looking different franchises and types of work that, as Paul Brown would say, life after football, prepare yourself. So I did that. But yeah, I opened my first franchise in 1995, the year after I retired from the NFL. And it's been good ever since. It's been tough. It's not easy, but you got to work at it.
Well, I was going to ask you, what kind of things or traits that you learned as a player in the National Football League that you carry over to being a businessman and, with your Penn Station locations? What kind of a carryover may there be?
That's a great question, because everything I learned in football or preparing to play football, I carried that right over to my business end of everything. And probably my managers hate to hear me say things that, this is what I learned in the NFL, and it translates to everyday work. And, and that's preparation and hard work and dedication and delivering and just getting the job done any way you can. And that's what we do in football. So yeah, everything that, being on time, being prepared to work, um, and being prideful. You know, you've got to have that sense of pride within you, and I try and build that into all our personnel, all of our crew members, and from managers all the way down to our 14, 15, 16-year-old kids that come in. So hopefully they learn a little bit while they're working with us at Penn Station.
So going to get up to sounds like 8 franchises, Max, which is phenomenal. Congratulations on that. Do you have people that have been with you for a long time? I bet you do.
Yeah, we have. And one of our girls was with us for 22, 23 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Other people have been with us for 15, 18 years, but in the food industry, it's more of a transient industry. And we're very fortunate to have some folks that's been with us for 12 years and 15, and the one that was with us for 22, 23 years or whatever it was. So it's good. But most of them are transient folks. It's kind of a transitional place that they like to go from, they're in school, they're in college or whatever, and they're working part-time with us. But some of the managers, that's their life's work. And so we've been very fortunate to have a good crew.
I know you and Patty have lived over in Hebron, Kentucky. You got quite a few acres over there and have enjoyed life over there. And raising horses, you've got a love of horses as well. Tell us a little bit about that love of horses.
Crazy, because I'm a city kid, basically, grew up in Southern California and suburbia and so forth. But my daughter and my wife, Patty, of all places, started taking riding lessons when we were in LA playing with the Raiders. And, yeah, there was a stable up there in Palos Verdes where we lived. And they just started, and they really started liking it. And my daughter started falling in love with the horse. And we got back to Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. They looked for a stable around here, and she started riding and taking lessons. And we got into saddlebreds, which is a Kentucky bred horse, saddlebreds. And one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden we buy a farm and horses and everything else. And here I am from Southern California, and I've got a stable of horses. And it's been a great journey, Dave. I'll tell you what, it's been phenomenal. And my daughter was a very successful rider. She made the World Cup riding team, which traveled all over, and they went to South Africa and competed in a few other areas. And yeah, it's unbelievable. And ourselves, when she graduated college, she rode for University of Kentucky equestrian team also, and very successful. But after that was all done, and right after she graduated, we had the farm and everything. I said, well, let's do something with horses. And I thought, well, maybe I'll start driving. So I started taking driving lessons, and one thing leads to another, just like it did with my daughter. And lo and behold, I'm competing down in Florida and everywhere else in California or in the United States, driving horses competitively, and got it to the level that was just before the advanced, which is world class. And I got up to a pair of horses, and it's combined driving is what it's called, and it's a 3-phase driving competition. It's pretty cool.
Did you ever think that you'd be driving horses when you were trying to move horses off the defensive line like Dave Butts and Louis Kelcher and guys like that?
Yeah, no, never in my wildest dreams would I think of something like that. But, it's like anything else. You're competitive, and I loved it because it was a competitive nature. And I was working with horses, and, it's kind of like working with your, tackle, your center, and, you work together, and it was a great thing, and really enjoyed it. And then, of course, one injury leads to another. The horse gets injured, and I get injured, and it just go to something different.
I know that Paul Brown would be extremely proud to see everything you've done after football. You had great success as a football player, but then tremendous success in life after football as well. And that was always a big deal to him. It's like football is a small part of your life. You're going to have a lot of life after that. And he was always very interested in what his former players turned out to be, how they made a contribution to society. And Max, you've done a ton, man. You've had tremendous successes in a lot of areas, man.
It's crazy. Dave, I mean, you just pinch me. I don't want to wake up. It's unbelievable. But I always took it to heart because Paul Brown would always talk to us in training camp up in Wilmington, and he would always say, "Gentlemen, use this as a stepping stone
Yep.
to your life's work." Because we don't know how long we have to play in the NFL. You know, some guys are 1 year or less than a year, and some guys are 16 years. You know, I was very fortunate. So always preparing yourself for the next step in life, and it's been something. It's been quite a ride, Dave.
No question. Well, Max, finally, the Ring of Honor. You know, obviously, Paul Brown and Anthony Munoz being in the Hall of Fame, they're in the first class, and you're one of 17 people that were nominated to fill a couple of other spots. And I know that's meaningful to you, and I know it's well deserved. And man, I'll tell you what, you're nothing but a stud, my man.
Well, thank you. You too, Dave. I mean, congratulations to you because you're part of that initial 17 that's being voted on, and it's quite an honor just to be,
no doubt,
considered, and you know, it's a long time coming for the Bengal fans really to look up there and see their favorite players, whoever they might be, and that's what to me it's really all about. It's our fans, and what great fans we have here in Cincinnati. Very, very fortunate here.
It is. It's time to celebrate. You know, I mean, the fans, the celebration. It's like fans, players, coaches, everybody involved with the organization. It's a celebration of achievement. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We, you know, you look back in the years, we've played with some great players and great people, and more than that, great people, and to be a part of that, it's really truly a blessing.
Max, we appreciate you carving all the time that you carved, because after talking with you here on this podcast, I know you're a busy man.
Yeah, I got to go out and cut grass now. I got my work done in the morning, and now it's time to get out there and do some. It'll take me about 3 or 4 hours to cut some of the backyard and front yard that I have here.
How many acres you got?
I've got 51 acres.
Woo!
I probably cut 4 or 5 acres that, you know, I cut it real nice and edge it and everything. But I've got trails in the part of the 40 or 50 acres in the back that I cut for horse trails and golf cart trails and for the grandkids and stuff too. So
that is awesome.
I'll be busy.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Once again, can't thank you enough. You're the best, and have the best day you ever had, my man.
Hey, take care. Good talking with you, Lapper.